What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking the second ever episode of WWE Break It Down featuring Kevin Owens. The first episode aired, I want to say about a month ago, broke it down right here on the channel, if not a month or two ago. I'm pretty sure it was January, in like early January, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, if you didn't watch that one featuring Drew McIntyre, which was a great one, which you should absolutely check out, it's a lot like Photo Shoot, if you've seen that show, which I've also broken down here in the show before, where they show videos to the superstars of their biggest matches and moments in WWE. For Drew, they showed like his debut match, winning the Intercontinental Championship, coming back to the main roster, winning the NXT Championship before that. So a lot of cool matches and moments. Owens was no different. This episode, I feel like, was a lot shorter than the McIntyre one, which was around, I don't know, I want to say 20 minutes or so. This was only 12 minutes, but they were able to pack a lot into those 12 minutes. Maybe 4 different matches, but all were 4 pretty significant moments in his career. The first match that we look at here is his debut match in WWE in NXT against CJ Parker at the NXT TakeOver Our Evolution show. Now, that is still one of my favorite shows over 5 years later. It's such an amazing takeover. I don't know if it's exactly underrated because I feel like people remember how great that show was, but it's crazy to think it's been 5 years since it aired because it was such a good show. In addition to Owens' debut, they also had Zayn and Neville for the NXT Championship. Balor debuting as, he was already in NXT at that point, but he debuted the Demon character. They did Charlotte and Sasha Banks. I think the Lucha Dragons versus the Vaudevillains, maybe. That wasn't really all that memorable of a match. But yeah, they had a lot of great matches on that show. Owens' debut being one of the highlights for sure. I feel like they had another match that I'm not thinking of. But anyway, this was a great match in and of itself, marking Owens' first televised match on the NXT roster. It was also his first WWE show, like I just said. He talked about how it was something that he had dreamed of for 21 years. He had been in the business at that point for about 14 or 15 years, since 2000, but he had been dreaming of being in WWE since he was 11. He actually said that he got goosebumps when the show started and they played the Then, Now, Forever thing, which I don't think they do anymore. I don't remember if that's part of the new intro or part of the current intro. I know they used to do it. I feel like they still do. I don't remember exactly. But the the whatever, that old, intro video that they used to do years ago, he got goosebumps when he heard that music and he saw the WWE logo thinking, holy shit, I'm about to debut on WWE TV, even though it's NXT. He actually said holy shit out loud and the referee, Sean Bennett, heard him say it, which was funny. He thought he was talking to him, but he was just talking to himself. He said that it's hard to describe the feeling of being out there, but one way to sum it up in just a few words is complete and total elation. This is nothing new. We've heard about this before, but he actually broke his nose on the palm strike from CJ Parker, the current, Juice Robinson over New Japan. He broke his nose on that spot, and Parker actually cut his own hand on the bone, from the bone, by doing that palm strike, which was vicious, and he had been doing that finisher for a long time. So why then, of all times, to get injured doing it, I don't know. But he told CJ during the match, he said, "Hey, dude," and he realized this is does not make sense in retrospect. But he said to CJ, "Hey, dude, you just exploded my nose." And he said he was so happy afterward that he broke his nose because it made that match that much more meaningful and it got things off to a hot start, which it absolutely did. It would have been a fun, quick squash to begin with. CJ Parker got some offense in, obviously. But it wasn't, a very competitive match. It was short, sweet, straight to the point, introduced Owens in a major way, in the blood from Owens' nose streaming down when he picked up the victory, really kicked things off as great as they possibly could have. And he said that he got really close with Parker after that, and he's still one of his favorite people to this day. I think he still tweets him and, tweets about him on his Twitter all the time. He actually said he was one of, if not the best talker in professional wrestling today, which I disagree with, but he is absolutely up there, though, because Parker has become a really terrific talent since leaving NXT 4 or 5 years ago. The next match that we look at is his match with Finn Balor from TakeOver Brooklyn back in August of 2015, a show that I was there for. An absolutely great main event that sometimes I feel is overshadowed by the Bayley and Sasha Banks match for the NXT Women's Championship, which is absolutely one of the greatest matches of all time in NXT history. But he knew that it would be his last match if not ever, probably for a very long time. He obviously had no, information back then, had no idea that he'd be back 4 or 5 years later to take over War Games. But he was really happy to have the chance to do his last match with Finn Balor, someone that he got really close with during his time in NXT. He'd already been called up to the main roster a few months before. He was called up during that segment with John Cena in May of 2015. So he was doing double duty for like 3 or 4 months between Raw, and he was also performing on SmackDown and NXT, which is crazy. He was doing the takeovers. He was doing Beast in the East for the NXT Championship, which is crazy shit that he was doing. And he was a hot superstar at that point, too. He had no gold for a while because he lost the NXT Championship in July. He failed to win the United States Championship. But he was doing extremely well for a guy that was straight up from NXT. He didn't know what to expect past that point, past being called up, being put in the program with John Cena and what the future would hold for him in NXT. But he was really lucky that he got to stick around for a little longer than most people do, because once they get called up, that's it. Like, you're done in NXT. But he got to stick around for a little while to finish up his feud with Finn Balor, which is really cool. He said that he got emotional towards the end of the match and afterward, knowing that it was the end of his time in NXT. Even Triple H asked him if he was okay when he got backstage. Stephanie McMahon showed concern as to why he was so emotional, and he was like, I just don't want to leave. I'm happy to be going to Raw, but he really wished he could have done both, which he did for a little while, but obviously, my mic just fell, sorry. He wanted to be able to do both full time, and obviously he did it for a couple of months there, from May through August, but he wanted to be able to do it full time from that point forward, which of course is pretty much impossible. He talked about the Demon character of Finn Balor and how there's always a difference, and a lot of people don't really, notice it, a big difference between the Demon and Finn Balor. But he said that there's a big difference in how Balor approaches his performance when he's the Demon, how he's more aggressive, and how he's always physically more demanding. The matches are with the Demon whenever Kevin Owens has wrestled him compared to Finn Balor normal, which he's also had a handful of matches with in NXT. The next match that we look at is the Battleground 2016 match against Sami Zayn. I was very surprised they skipped over the John Cena match from Elimination Chamber. I mean, all the matches they covered were great, but it would have been cool if he had that match, or at least one of the matches, with John Cena, because that was one of the best matches of 2015 as well. He said that he and Sami, not only during this WWE feud, but in their Ring of Honor feud, anytime they've ever worked with each other, they always threw everything they had at each other. They were married to each other, he said, for months in the main roster. Sami Zayn came back to the main roster after a quick one-shot back in 2015. He came back in the 2016 Rumble, eliminated Kevin Owens, so their feud kind of rekindled. Their rivalry was rekindled there. They were part of that ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. They had that great payback match. They were a part of a fatal four-way for the Intercontinental Championship in May of 2016, a match that I was there for at Extreme Rules, a great match. They were a part of the Money in the Bank ladder match the following month after that, and then they were a part of this match together one-on-one, which was what the feud had been building to all along. So they had all these matches all year long, and the crowd never once got sick of it. Not now, there's not a big difference between 2020 and 2016, but that is a testament to how great that feud was, that the fans never once soured on it. They were always demanding more from Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And they didn't really have many singles matches together. They had, the one at Payback, they had a rematch on Raw, and then the one at Battleground. After that, they really ran it into the ground with the rematches on Raw and SmackDown and here and there. But, up until Battleground, people were not sick of the feud whatsoever. And he didn't mention it here, but, I was going to say, actually, that people knew that this was it because they were drafted as separate brands the week prior, but they actually weren't. They were on the same show there for a long time. They were both drafted at Raw, but people kind of figured this would be the end of the line for their feud. So anyway, he said that it's hard for them to know what feels fresh because they've been working together nonstop for so many years that it's hard to know what fans feel is fresh in their matches. But he said the night was special. He screamed his head off afterward backstage, which is something he said that he rarely does. Usually if he knows he does good, then he knows he does good and he kind of keeps to himself. But when he knows the match is great and it was fucking awesome, he'll, celebrate backstage. Very rarely does that happen, and that happened here, he said. It was such a great match that Vince, when he went to go shake his hand, Vince hugged him, and they don't have that kind of relationship. They do not hug. Even Pat Patterson was standing right there, and he said, I've never seen Vince hug anyone after a match like that in my life. which is a great, again, testament to how great Owens and Zayn are, and that match that they had was how awesome it was. He said that it holds up against any match from 2016, which I absolutely agree with. It does. It was such an amazing match. Maybe not the match of the year for 2016, but it's easily in the top 5, if not top 3. They had a lot of great matches in 2016, not just them, but the entire WWE, NXT, Cruiserweight Classic roster. Like, everyone was killing it back in 2016. Not to say they aren't, 2019, 2020, but that year for some reason was just really, really special, in-ring action-wise. Anyway, though, he said that he stands behind Zayn for just being uncompromising regarding his views on wrestling, and usually he's right. He trusts Sammy's instincts and that he almost always knows what he's doing, and it paid off on this night, having the amazing match that they did. And the final match that we look at here is I forgot the exact date, but it was from late August 2016, 8 days removed from SummerSlam. On Raw, of course, you know where I'm going with this, the Fatal 4-Way for the vacant Universal Championship, pitting Kevin Owens against Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Big Cass. Finn Balor had just dropped the belt, the night after SummerSlam. He won it at SummerSlam, got hurt in that match, had to vacate it the next night. I was there for both events, the Raw and the SummerSlam. It was a very emotional 24 hours because it sucked to see him have to vacate the belt so soon. But it led to a great opportunity here for someone else to pick up where he left off. So Owens said that he didn't feel much pressure going into the match because with a Fatal 4-Way, they're hard to mess up, especially with the amount of talent involved. Maybe not so much Big Cass, but Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. It's hard to go wrong with people like that in the ring, that you're sharing the ring with. So he said that the moment with Triple H betraying Seth Rollins and him coming back and then handing Kevin Owens the championship when he won it was surreal. Because Triple H is the reason why Kevin Owens is in WWE. He scouted him, signed him to NXT, then helped him win the Universal Championship. He's always been one of his biggest supporters, always been in his corner throughout his entire WWE journey. So he said the significance of it in storyline, though, was lost, and that nothing was ever done with it. They could have done so much more with it than they did, which I absolutely agree with, 100% agree with. I really wish, honestly, I'm sorry, I'm really happy he had mentioned that, and I really do wish they had done more with it, because that was such a great moment when Owens won the championship. And yeah, people were saying, even Owens acknowledged here that, he could have done it by himself. He should have done it by himself. But the moment meant so much to him, and it made sense given their history. And it was great. And it led to the babyface Rollins run, which lasted over 3 years until he went heel about a month or two ago. But with Kevin Owens, he realizes that it was such a big moment given his history with Triple H. The match itself was great. It was an awesome moment. But I'm really happy that he had said that they could have done more with it, and they absolutely could have. Because after that, Owens' reign really peaked at that point. I hate to say it, but his reign wasn't bad. It wasn't Jinder Mahal levels of bad. And he was champion for a long time, and the matches with Rollins were pretty good for the most part. But he had that great run with Jericho, but I really felt they didn't book him as strongly as they could have throughout that entire run as Universal Champion. He main evented a bunch of pay-per-views, and again, he had a lot of good matches and whatnot, but he never really felt like a main event level threat. They had just done for a long time, have him be overshadowed by authority figures, and just no one really cared. It just got to a point where people just stopped caring about Kevin Owens and his reign as champion because he had been booked to look like a glorified mid-carder. And it's really telling that he hasn't held a world championship since. And that's not his fault. It's not like a Jinder Mahal type of situation where it's like, he should have never been champion to begin with. Kevin Owens is world championship material, but I feel like the bad booking that he endured during his run as champion really did not help him and only hindered him in the end. Because now he has yet to get another world championship, run. I mean, he's had opportunities over the years. But he has yet to get another run, and hopefully he does at some point, because I really feel that he was not dealt a proper hand as the Universal Champion due to all the outside circumstances with Rollins and Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, the Jericho thing, other things taking precedent at that point, the authority figures not really doing him any favors. In reality, not storyline-wise, in terms of them overshadowing his reign and just not booking him to be as strong as he could have been. But anyway, going back to what Owens was saying here, he said that he could not have imagined a better way for things to unfold than how they unfolded. That Triple H thought highly enough of him to put the championship on him, and not just to put the championship on him, but to help him win in storyline. And that means a lot to Kevin Owens. That was not lost on him. To think that, Triple H of all people thinks that highly of him means the world to him. He said that afterward, the entire night was really, really special. It unfolded in a way that he'll never forget. And he got like 100 messages. He got a lot of messages, as you could probably expect, after he won the championship. But the first messages he read were from his wife and his parents. And he FaceTimed both of them. He FaceTimed his wife after the match. He FaceTimed his parents. And then he FaceTimed Finn Balor, which I think he posted a picture of on like his Twitter or something. Finn or Owens did, or both. And he basically told Finn, not even basically, he told Finn over the FaceTime call, this is your championship, dude, and I'm just waiting for you to get back. I'm just holding it until you get back, because they're really close. And the only reason he won it, which is true, is because Balor got hurt. Had Balor not gotten hurt, Balor might have had the same run that Owens did, where he would have held it for a while and then whatever. I'm not sure exactly how that would have played out. But Balor's another guy they never took another chance on after he, had to vacate the Universal Championship. Him and Owens have yet to get another run as world champion, and hopefully that's not it for the both of them. But anyway, so yeah, he had remembered, that was not lost on him, that the only reason he won that championship was because of Finn Balor. And, had Finn Balor not gotten hurt, he probably would have never had that, win. He never probably would have had that reign as Universal Champion. And even though it wasn't the greatest reign in the world, at least he could still say he was the Universal Champion and held it for almost like 8 months or so. He held it for a very long time. He said that title was really ours, talking about Sami Zayn and how Sami was the first person backstage that he saw when he came through the curtain. And he said, he's quoted in saying, that title was really ours, because without him, there would be no me. And just kind of sum it up overall. We see the footage of that, by the way, which is great. But to sum up all these matches on the whole here, he says, watching these matches really put things in perspective. And my entire WWE run, it has been a roller coaster. It's had its ups and downs, and not everything is perfect. But watching these matches back helped me remember the good times, and it's a good reminder to keep moving along and that good things will happen. So this was great. This was really, really enjoyable. I know I've gone longer here than the actual episode, over 17 minutes, and the episode's only 12 minutes. But it's worth the watch. It's a short and sweet watch with 4 great matches being broken down and analyzed by Kevin Owens. Discussing a lot of things you probably already knew, but it's great to hear from KO nonetheless. So be sure to check out the second ever episode of WWE Break It Down right now on the WWE Network, featuring Kevin Owens. I don't think there's anything new airing after Raw tonight on the network, and if not, I'll probably just have some sort of miscellaneous content up tonight, or rather tomorrow on the YouTube channel. But if you haven't already, check up, or rather catch up on all the content I've been putting out over the last couple days right here on the channel, including my Ms. and Mrs. review from Friday, the Season 2 premiere, my SmackDown audio review from Saturday, and then the ride-along review from Sunday that aired on Friday. I know all the videos have been going up a lot later than they probably should in the last few days. I'm hoping to change that. Just been really busy lately. I mean, what else is new? But yeah, I know Ms. and Mrs. Season 2, Episode 2 airs on Wednesday, so a review of that is coming up on Friday. If there's any other new network content coming up this week, it will be broken down and reviewed right here on the channel this weekend, so keep an eye out for that. Unless there's something airing after Raw tonight that I'm not aware of, then I'll probably review it tomorrow. But until then, guys, have a great rest of your week. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. And that's it. So enjoy Raw tonight, folks. I'm Graham Giuseppe Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.